Today, I'm going to show you a particularly exciting example of web controls, knowing how to render VB.NET code on the client side as JavaScript so that it can run in the browser. Traditionally, if I want to display a message to the user of a website when they click a button, I'm going to have to write that code in the client-side language, JavaScript, like I have here, alert, hello from JavaScript. But I want to write my event handler in the same language as the rest of my code, VB, just as I would do in a desktop or mobile app. So instead of using string literal here, instead, I'm going to use an embedded expression with a lambda. And in that expression, I'm going to say message box, hello from VB.NET. Let's run that. You click these buttons, you see this one says hello from JavaScript, and the second one says hello from VB.NET. What's happening here is actually pretty straightforward. The onClick attribute can take a string or an expression tree, and so this sub-lambda expression here is being converted to an expression tree that's then being converted to JavaScript during rendering by a series of expression tree visitors I hacked together. So when we look at the client-side code, you'll see that it's been translated correctly. So let's take this example where I'm going to initialize this span with the current time. Coming from my Windows background, let's make a timer control, set the interval equal to 1000 milliseconds or 1 second, and for the tick event, when that happens, I want you to say span1 dot innerText equals date dot now dot to string. Now what's happening here is this span1 field is actually just a variable that I've declared in another partial file for IntelliSense purposes. But let's run that and see what happens. So there you go. Every second this text is being updated. The conversion process understands that though this lambda expression is referring to a field, that it's going to translate that into an element lookup in the client side in JavaScript. Now let's take a look at one last example. Imagine a scenario where there's some big computation I have to do on the server to update my UI. In this example, I'm going to pretend that computing the power of a number has to be done on the server side. Today, I might abstract that computation out into its own web service, then write some JavaScript glue code to call out to that service and update the UI with the response. Because I can use VB.NET on the client side now, I can just write an onClick handler like before that in it says result span innerText equals, and then I'm going to call out to calculate power and pass in base input dot value and exponent input dot value, and just call into it like I would any normal method. I'll go to definition so you can see that it is in fact just a normal method. Let's go back and run this. Now, if I've done everything correctly, when I click this button, voila, the client calls back into my server code and the server code stops at the breakpoint that I set. This works because the default ASP.NET Core MVC routing automatically treats a public method like this is a web API endpoint, and the URL all-in-one/calculate power, taking its arguments as query string parameters. The expression tree visitor understands when it encounters a call to a method like that to translate it to a background web request in JavaScript, so there's no postback and no flicker. And some of you may have noticed if I say calculate here 2 to the power of 3 and run that, that I get the wrong answer. 2 to the power of 3 is not 5. But the reason for that is because I used the wrong operator. But I can just fix that using edit and continue right in line and continue going. Clear out that breakpoint. And now it gives me the correct value of 8. I can increase this 2 to the 5th and get 32. So that was easy enough to fix on the server side, and everything is all good. So you've just seen VB.NET expressions translated to JavaScript and run on the client side. You've seen VB statements interact with the client-side DOM, and you've also seen that VB code trivially interact with server-side code to update the view in a browser without postbacks or flicker. This is just a proof of concept, but an experience like this is made possible because of XML literals being made pattern-based, so they can construct arbitrary types. That gives VB developers the freedom to use the .NET type system and features of the language like expression trees to their fullest potential. And one can easily imagine much more. For example, with some of the stuff I've been talking about as far as getting JSON built into the language, or through templating, starting to have some real client templating experiences similar to what you would get with React JS, except without the JavaScript, because VB has XML literals. If you like what you saw, check out the blog post below. Please share this with others and share your feedback with me in the comments below or on Twitter. Thanks for watching.